What's going on, Falcon fan? This is your boy Ricondo coming back at you with another video. So today, guys, we're going to talk about the updated GM search. Two of our finalists got interviewed today. We'll highlight those guys once again, and hopefully, pretty soon we will have an announcement or who the Atlanta Falcons is going to choose to be the next GM for the team. Also, we'll talk about some Senior Bowl updates and some players that probably impressed around that the Falcons might have an opportunity to draft in day 2 and day 3 of the NFL draft. And then we'll also talk about some news we heard about Kirk Cousins as well. Um, Something that probably most of us not too much surprised about from what we heard about him. So um, that's what we're looking at today, guys. Definitely. Before we get into this today, I just listened to the Unplugged interview with um our head coach Stephen Stefanski. He actually did a unplug. If you never watch unplug, that's when they bring guys in and the fans could ask questions to the head coach or whoever they're interviewing at the time, and he give his insight. And if you have not listened to that interview, it just happened. It just ended probably like a couple of minutes ago. But if you listen to that, it gives you a great insight. You can tell that we have an offensive minded coach, something we have not had here um, since Arthur Smith, right? But you can tell when they start talking offense and the details and intricacies that how he's going to lay out you know this game plan for the Atlanta Falcons moving forward. It kind of gets you a little bit excited. So um, a guy who's been coaching, you know, for the last 20 years in the league, it just give you some kind of hope that things going to be a whole lot better from offense standpoint than it had been, the last 2 seasons. So we have the weapons, we have the talent, got to get the quarterback position correct. But other than that, man, if you have not, go ahead and listen to that video. Like I said, I really like what I heard from him. He was really detailed based off the question they asked him. If you have not heard it, go ahead and listen to that. So, um, really good information that Kevin Stefanski just put out. All right. So, guys, with that being said, if you have not already, go ahead and please subscribe to the channel. Please hit that notification bell so you know I drop another video. Please hit the like button so I know you guys right here I talk about. Then please share my video throughout the YouTube universe so more people can come hear me talk about. That's right. These Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. It's okay. So GM search, guys. So the Atlanta Falcons have interviewed their last two final candidates, Ian Cunningham and James Ripperford, right? And just give you guys a quick background on both of these guys. One of these guys going to be our next GM. Sounds like it. Hopefully they can go ahead and make the decision here. But since they have not made the decision yet, it seems like it must be pretty tough for these guys to narrow to make a decision on both of these guys. But um, Ian Cunningham, like I said, he's assistant general manager for the Chicago Bears. Um, he was in Philadelphia in 2021. He was a director of player personnel. 2019 to 2020, he was the assistant director of player personnel. 2017 to 2018, he was the director of college scouting, and he was part of two Super Bowls for the Philadelphia Eagles. Before that, he was an area scout for the Baltimore Ravens, um, and player personnel assistant, and he was also part of that 2012 Super Bowl for the Baltimore Ravens. So Ian Cunningham has been in the front office for a while, and so many different scouting and personnel, positions that he held where he was to direct during things like that. So you see his background. He's been around really, really good GMs, right? If you look at what he was able to do with the Ravens, right? Of course, Ozzie Newsome there, move over to Philadelphia, Howard Roseman. That guy is the way he builds teams. You just got to tip your head off to that. and then the way Ryan Poles has built this Chicago Bears teams out. So, like I said, Ian Cunningham has a really good resume, and all it is just his vision, what he thinks about working with the other two guys that's going to be in the front office, and Matt Ryan and Kevin Stefanski, and if they driving based off what they heard today interview, he could be the next guy. So that's Ian Cunningham. Now the next guy that they interviewed today, of course, James Lifford. I hope I'm saying his name right. We'll get his name great once if they do hire him. We'll make sure we get his name pronunciation correctly because it's spelled Liippfert. So however you pronounce that, but this guy is the assistant GM with the Houston Texans, and the Houston Texans is really trying to keep him. They like what he brings to the table there. So this is a really, really good candidate for the Atlanta Falcons as well. He spent 9 seasons with the New England Patriots, where he was part of 9 division titles, guys, 4 AFC championships, and 2 Super Bowl victories. So he has seen, like I said, success, putting teams together, making it come all together, and being able to win consistently, right? Hence the 9 AFC titles, and then the 2 Super Bowls. So he has seen the what it takes to put a winning team on the field and being able to get to the highest level, and that's to win Super Bowl. So both of these guys are really good candidates. They had initially interviewed 6 candidates, but they're narrowed down to these 2. Hopefully we hear something soon. We just don't know when it's going to be, but it has to happen sometime, guys, because like I said, they're really deep into the superstar draft things going on now. You got the Senior Bowl, you got the East West Shrine game, so all these different things going on, and our GM is not there right now. We do have Atlanta Falcons scouting personnel on the site, making sure they getting all the details, looking at all these guys. But however, we got to have the GM here because it's not really just the draftees and the things like that. They got a lot of decisions they got to make on personnel. So they got to look at this roster because neither one of these guys, including Matt Ryan, does not really know this roster like they need to. So they got to go look at the film, determine what direction they're going in, who they decide to keep, and all those kind of things. Don't really know right off bat how many free agents we got, but based off our own free agents, because that's the first thing you got to do. Take a look at your own free agents and make sure that who you plan to retain and so on and so forth, right? But that's important. They got to make decisions on certain players, right? Keep free agents that we definitely want to keep that were real contributors to the team last year. They got to look at that, right? And then they got to start looking into the draft, into free agency outside of our own team. So they got a lot of work to do, right? And the guys coming in, whoever it is, got to come in and hit the ground running completely, right? So hopefully they get it done between the next 48 hours, and we'll come back on here and talk about who that guy's going to be. King Atlanta Supporter said, probably day of tomorrow. I agree. It's going to be one of those days. Work on your vocabulary. You said Lippert? Okay, sorry. I don't know. Like, we're going to find out. I want to hear them pronounce it. Yeah, what's up, Ricardo? Yeah, man. What up, dog? All right, man. What's going on, T Terry? All right, guys. So there you have it. We still don't know. I thought I was gonna come in here today and announce who it is, and right, we can talk about it, but we're still waiting. So until we find out who the guy is gonna be, we're just still playing the waiting game. All right, next topic today is going to be the Senior Bowl, right? And of course, I'm going off what the reporting that's out there for the Senior Bowl, and I kind of went off, what I think some of the Atlanta Falcons' potential needs could be. And then just some guys that really been really doing some really good things out there at the Super Bowl. So this CBS Sports, right? So one guy draftee that they was talking about is the edge out of Western Michigan, Nadam Tucker. He has really played really well this week at the Senior Bowl. Of course, they're in the second day, so um, you know, first day you might shine, second day you might not shine. If you're familiar with how the Senior Bowl go, you know you want to try to do good all through the week, but um, so stock up for this guy. This guy potentially could really um, see his stock rise. For as edge, do the Atlanta Falcons need edge? Probably not, but like I said, the philosophy should be best available player. You get the best available player there, right? I don't think having more edge would hurt anything, to be honest with you. So looking at um Nadam Tucker, that's his name. You're looking at him out of Western Michigan, edge rush. His stock is going up. He's leading an interception. Yeah, interception. And then he really good sack. So his stock is going up, guys. Like I said, it's only 2 days been playing, so just a name, some of the names that we're going to talk about today. Another guy is the linebacker out of Texas Tech. Now, linebacker definitely could be a position that the Falcons could be looking at, right? Because we don't know the status of Caden Ellis. So when we're looking at linebacker, we definitely going to be looking at a guy, Jacob Rodriguez, a linebacker out of Texas Tech. He's a Butkus Award winner, guys. And he's really versatile against the run. He did really stock has really risen, and all these coming from CBS Sports. Stock has really risen while he's been down there in Mobile. So this another guy potentially could be a day 2 pick for the Atlanta Falcons. If you're looking at the linebacker, trying to um, create that depth there, especially if you lose out on K Nellis, you're definitely going to have to look into adding another linebacker to the spot. Now, there was some rumors out there that they could be moving Jalen Walker to that linebacker spot because he has the versatility and he kind of remind you of a Caden Ellis, the way he played in Georgia, right? That pretty much can play all over the field, sort of like what Caden Ellis was able to do. So, you could see where they could potentially move a guy like Jalen Walker to linebacker. But when you're looking at a guy like Jacob Rodriguez to keep Jalen Walker on the pass rush, being an edge rusher, you're bringing in a guy like this, a Butkus Award winner, to the fold, and you'll just see how that pans out for this team. Another guy is Tyron Montgomery, wide receiver. Atlanta Falcons definitely a wide receiver. This guy's from a small school. He's from John Carroll. So this is where you find your diamonds in the rough, right? The guy that's been in college for 4 years, it's real polished, mature, right? Probably a team captain. Don't know that for sure, but he has really good hands when catching passes and stride. The key for him would be his speed, right? Because I feel like the Falcons need to find somebody that can actually stretch the field to make it more advantageous for guys like Drake London underneath. Kyle Pitts, if he comes back underneath, that's when you have somebody that can actually stretch the field. So Tyron Montgomery could definitely help. Could be a day 2 or day 3 pick. You're just one of those guys. Atlanta Falcons got 5 draft picks, guys, so they got to really be intentional about the guys they pick up, especially once they get through free agency, right? They can have a better idea, the holes and the needs that they're going to have. But they need to be intentional about these 5 picks because they only have 5, don't have a first round pick, and they don't have a 5th round pick. So they got a 2nd, a 3rd, a 4th. Then they have a 6th and a 7th round pick. So they don't have a 5th round pick. So they got to be really intentional and strategic about the picks they make, and getting a wide receiver on day 2 or day 3 that could help this team would be huge for the Atlanta Falcons. Um, One note that we talked about could possibly be where Atlanta Falcons actually go out and target a quarterback in this draft, right? Um, to play backup to Michael Penix Jr. Because we all know about the quarterback situation in Atlanta. We're going to talk about Kirk Cousins in just a minute, but some guys that's at the Senior Bowl this week um, that Atlanta Falcons will be looking at. I'm not saying any of these guys I would take, but just to take a look at it, Diego Pavia, of course, is his run that he had at Vanderbilt was outstanding, but it's reported that he's shorter than Russell Wilson. Um, Cole Payton is another guy um, that had a pretty good day on Wednesday. So um, a guy that they definitely could be looking at. Uh, Garrett Nussmeier, LSU, of course. Um, his stock went down a lot, guy. It really did, but he just haven't really lit up Senior Bowl so far. So he's gonna have to pick up his stock the rest of the week, and when he get to the combine and schedule workout pro days and things like that, he need to show more what he's gonna do. Taylor Green, which is really interesting guy, 6'6", big guy who's mobile, can run the ball. Um, Definitely could be somebody that the Falcons could be interested in. Could be a day 2, day 3 pick. But this is a guy that Atlanta Falcons definitely could be looking at. Like I said, you want to be able to, have a quarterback for the future, because you really don't know what's going to happen with Michael Penix, but you need to have somebody develop. You don't want to create what they created in Cleveland, right? Having 2 young quarterbacks, but at the same time, um, the Atlanta Falcons need to be really strategic about that position, because we always say if you don't have a quarterback, you don't have nothing. And the last guy is Malachi Fields. Um, so those are some of the quarterbacks that's at the Senior Bowl. I don't think any of these guys is lighting up the scoreboards or raising their stock or anything like that. But these are some of the guys that's there, seniors that everybody's gonna be looking at. We got to remember that this quarterback class is not as good as some of the previous quarterback classes that came out. So this is one of those weak classes that could be similar to the Desmond Ritter draft, where he got picked in the 3rd round. Only guy that went in the 1st round with Kenny Pickett, and probably should have not got picked in the 1st round either. I think this one is going to be Mendoza, and then we might not see another quarterback for a while come off the board. So that's one of these quarterbacks that's starting to raise their stock here. Because now Ty Simpson's and the guy that a lot of people think have some potential as well, but he's not a senior, so he's not here. But he could be a guy that could get drafted earlier. He might get drafted earlier than any of these guys I just called out, matter of fact. But Ty Simpson could be a guy. But when you think about quarterbacks, it's not going to be a heavy quarterback class, which hints that this is the perfect time for Michael Penix to solidify himself as the Atlanta Falcons starter, because he won't have nobody really looking over his shoulder with nobody this season if he comes out and plays well, and then he could solidify himself for being that franchise guy. So it's going to be important for Michael Penix to do that. A couple more guys we want to talk about is Grayson Halton. And this guy here is lighting it up at the Senior Bowl right now. 6'2", 295 pounds, out of Oklahoma. He's lighting it up, right? This guy is some of his stats. He had 8.5 sacks over the past 2 seasons. He has alignment, versatility, high effort, 10.2% stop rate with a run defender. He got active hands. He's good athletic on tape. 30 pressures in 2025, 29 in 2024. So he knows how to get after the quarterback. And then his run defense is 86.9 grade. So this is a guy that Atlanta Falcons definitely could use. Like I said, 6'2", 295 out of Oklahoma. Grayson Halton. So look out for that name. His stock is going up at the Senior Bowl, so that's one of the guys definitely to look out for the Atlanta Falcons. All right, just for me, my opinion, the needs I think the Atlanta Falcons they need to look at receiver, linebacker, defensive tackle, and cornerback. Those are positions. Oh, I forgot about wide receiver, of course, but those are ones that the Atlanta Falcons need. That's a lot, right? That's a lot. Receiver, defensive tackle, linebacker, cornerback, right? Those are the positions that I think that the Atlanta Falcons need to be looking at in needs. Even if they decide to bring Caden Less back, they still need to add more depth to the linebacker room. Cornerback, we do have cornerbacks. We got Kobe Bryant saying he's going to have an outstanding year this year. You got Mike Hughes coming back, right? But I think they need to actually invest in the cornerback position, especially the nickel. We don't know what's going to happen with Offer. He's coming back. Billy Bowman's coming back off the Achilles injury, so nickel is going to be big for the Atlanta Falcons. That's why cornerback is probably should be one of their biggest needs. Of course, defensive tackle. One of the things that the new regime is talking about is being physical. So that's why I think the defensive and offensive line should be a focus as well. Of course, they need another receiver. Like I said, somebody that can stretch the field. That's going to be important. And so those are some of the things that Atlanta Falcons need to be looking at. And looking at Grayson Dalton won't be a bad idea, right? I think he could be somebody that they definitely could, consider and look at. So that's some of the things that they can look at. Before we keep going and look at some of these comments, if I get too far down. He said Leopold is probably going to be the choice. He's familiar with Atlanta area. He went to Georgia Tech. Yep. Yeah, I forgot to mention that in his thing. Yeah, he played for Georgia Tech. He is Atlanta native, right? Probably, probably could say he probably was a Atlanta Falcons fan growing up. So, does that give him a leg up? I don't know. We'll just have to see. But both of these guys have excellent resumes. It's just depend on, in my opinion, is the chemistry that either both of them had, with the coach and Matt Ryan when they came in for the interview. To me, I really think that's what it's going to boil down to, because this GM decision is not going to be made, in the vacuum. They're going to make it collectively, and of course, Matt Ryan, got to get okay for Arthur Blank, but he's going to have the final say. A lot of people still think it's going to be Ian Cunningham, but we just don't know. So we'll just have to wait to see. Eddie said, "Don't be surprised if the GM decision is not made. It's not made this weekend. There will be another interview or two differently." I mean, that could be the case. And if that's the case, that means they wasn't impressed with the two interviews they saw today. If they make interview some more guys, I'm starting to get a little worried, because I'm like, wow, right? You had both of these guys came in. You didn't mention any other interviews, and then you only mentioned these two guys in interviews. So right, so it's kind of like he was your finalist. If you add two more names to the pot, or more names, that means you wasn't impressed with either of these guys. And like I said, I'm gonna start getting concerned now. So if that happens, so we'll just have to see. Those quarterbacks are nothing more than to develop for the future backups, except Nussmeier, who has the NFL scouts' attention if he can't perform throughout the workout process. Yeah, he has not been impressing anybody, though. So I agree with you. All those guys I mentioned are developing guys. That's why I said, if the Atlanta Falcons do take one of those quarterbacks in the in the later rounds, Michael Penix should have nothing to worry about. There's somebody that can develop and come up and stuff like that. So I do agree with you on that. Said LSU head coach failed him with all the turmoil going, especially when he was leading the Heisman conversation back to back before the season. Yeah, he fell off a cliff because nobody mentioned him at all. Right, and I thought you're right, especially that not last season, 2024. He had his hot stock was higher, way higher than it was this year. But yeah, he's like a forgotten man now, and I do agree that whatever happened with the situation with the team, it really hurt him. It hurt his stock. Um, there are plenty of future star wide receivers in this draft. Yeah, I'm just talking about the ones that Senior Bowl. There's so many wide receivers, especially from Wildcats. Um, we said assured those two impress. Let's just saying they all must agree. Of course, but like I said, in my opinion, if they decided that those are two finalists, then they have to go back and interview more guys. I don't like that personally because I'm like, wow, like what is going on? Y'all that you have that much difference of opinion and working with guys, so it's gonna be tough. Honestly, I'm glad they're getting it right, but at the same time, just the fact that that they taking this long is not good because, like I said, it's a lot of decisions we made. We're gonna talk about Kirk Cousins in just a minute. Um, John, what's going on, man? Question: if we have the worst season that we had last year with all the talent we have, so would it be a one and done as for the new coach? Good question. We'll just have to see. I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you this much, John, because you was talking about Kubiak a lot, Clint Kubiak a lot, and the fact that Kevin Stefanski was taught by Gary Kubiak, that should give you some kind of some kind of. I mean, he was taught by the dad, right? So his our whole offense that he ran with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota in 2019, Gary Kubiak was right there helping them develop that offense. So, and when Clint Kubiak was the quarterback coach at the same time, so they all was taught out the same tree, right? So I don't know if you just need the Kubiak name to be, but he was taught by the dad of the guy that you wanted. So I think we should give him a chance to see what happens because he learned his philosophy from Gary, and that's Clint's dad. So let's see what happens with it. But so he has the same philosophy, a little bit different, I'm sure, because every offensive coordinator do their own thing. But he learned from Gary Kubiak in Minnesota when Clint Kubiak was a quarterback coach. So they all was there together. So I'm pretty sure some of their philosophies line up to what we want to see from the Atlanta Falcons. So we'll see. Um, time will tell, but let's see what happens. Uh, love the GI Joes, yeah, man. That's when I was a kid. That's my childhood right there. GI Joes. Of course, everybody remember He Man and the Thundercats and stuff like that. But GI Joes, man, that's what I used to go outside and play with in my room and play with the GI Joes. So I went and found the old collectibles and I kept them inside the cases and things like that. They've never been open, but they're just here for collectibles for GI Joe. So that's why you see those things right there. Yes, Kevin was, but didn't learn anything. But Kubiak is Kubiak. Why you say he didn't learn anything? He was two-time coach of the year, man. Like you got to you have to take the good with the bad, right? He came. He was coach of the year twice somehow, some way, and like I said before, it's only been like 8 or 9 guys that ever been coach of the year twice in NFL history. So that has to say something. You have to get accolades. Yes, you can take the bad too, because you can't take the good without the bad. But it's some good came out of his coaching. He learned something from Kubiak to be coach of the year twice, right? It is what it is. So let's hopefully what we get is the good and a lot less of the bad. that said Clint Kubiak is ready for a head coach position. He admitted that. Just want to coach and run an offense. We're gonna see. We're gonna see because I think he's going to get the Vegas job. I mean, the Vegas Raiders job. It seems like it's leaning that way. We don't heard for sure because they can get an interview with him this week, right? I think it's this week. They can't get an interview with him this week. So if he, gets the interview, we have to wait to after the Super Bowl, but then um, they'll pretty much say that he's going to be the next coach. Which honestly, for him, that's a perfect job because um, the Las Vegas Raiders got like 80, I think $85 million in cap space, and they're gonna draft a young quarterback, so he will have time, you know, to build that team from ground up. Right? He could draft a young quarterback, um, put players around him so they don't have to do so much. Right? He already got Brock Bowers. They got to get a receivers. They ain't got no receivers, but they got Brock Bowers. They got the running back that they just drafted. Right? So they got the a little foundation. Now I probably would trade Max Crosby. See, I could probably get even more stock, right? Because they're so young. But Clint Kubiak coming into that position, I think it will really work perfect for him because he'll have an opportunity to build that team up. So, um, you know, I think the Atlanta Falcons wanted a more seasoned coach. That's really the only reason why I think they went down this route instead of going with Clint Kubiak. I think a lot of us wanted him, but um, being a new coach, head coach for the first time, I don't know if Arthur Blank wanted to go down that road again, and because aside from Raheem Morris, um, most of the coaches he have hired been first time coaches. So I think he wanted to go a different route, right? You look at Mike Smith, look at Dan Quinn, look at Arthur Smith, Raheem Morris. He decided to go, back to the well with an older coach. But most of the time he do hire new coaches. But this time I think he decided to go in a different route. We'll see what happens with that. So, um, who's the assistant general manager for Seattle? That's a great question. I don't know. I don't know who it is. But yeah, that dude doing some things. You're right. That's a great example. Seattle has built a team the right way. You got to think about from the Russell Wilson to the Legion of Boom to right. They built a team correctly. So that would be somebody to be an understudy under. That's a great example. Um, I mean, he isn't ready, as he admitted. It organizations have seen it, and this is why he has fallen off the radar. I don't think he's falling off. I don't really think he's falling off. I think teams wasn't patient enough to wait on him. That's the biggest thing. And because look now, it's only two teams left, and what if he does decide to go back to Seattle? Then what? Whew, that'd be bad for people that was waiting on him. So um, we'll just have to see where he lands. All right, let's get to the last couple of Senior Bowl candidates that I talked about. Um, Bryce Boucher out of Oregon. Um, this guy had 136 tackles, 5 quarterback hurries, 5 deflections, 2 forced fumbles, a sack, and an interception, all in 2025. His stock is rising. Um, it's another linebacker, guys, and I because I think when you talk about linebackers, I think this is could be a potential position for the Atlanta Falcons to actually go look at. So, like I said, 136 tackles, 5 quarterback hurries, 5 deflections, 2 forced fumbles, a sack, and an interception, all in this past season. This guy is going to be really, really good in the NFL. Maybe not even make it to the second round. Maybe not even make it to day 2. But look for his name. His name is Bryce Boucher out of Oregon, guys. So um, and he came on the scene because he bulldozed his way over running back Nick Singleton on a trying to do a pass protection. So he's making his leeway there. But this guy, be on the lookout for him. Um, between him and Rodriguez. You never know. Like I said, we don't know how the Atlanta Falcons going to do, what they're going to do with K. Ellis. K. Ellis is 31, so he's a little bit on the older end. Because he had a late start when he was with the Aints. But man, these last couple seasons, I've been really impressed with K. Ellis. Would love to have him come back. And I know that Jeff Albrecht probably going to lobby for him, but it all comes down to the contract, man. That's what it's going to really boil down to. So we'll definitely have to see how that pans out for K. Ellis. All right, let's get into a couple more guys. Center out of Miami, James Brockermeyer. If they want to go that route and see if they can get a center, 297 pounds, a little bit heavier than Ryan Newsel. Wide receiver out of Baylor, Kosh Cameron. He's a senior, built like a running back, playing wide receiver. Jersey number is 34. He's 6'1", 223 pounds. Like I said, you built like a running back, man. You're gonna run over some guys. The physicality. I don't know if we need another guy like that. Depending on what he runs, in the 40. But I like a physical running back. Physical receiver be good. We already talked about Taylor Green. Now let's get into some big guys. Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech has really been making heads this week at the Senior Bowl. Probably end up being a first round pick. Some people got him now going in the 20s in the first round, so might not have an opportunity to get him. He had one of the best days at the Senior Bowl on day one. He looked better than most of half of the edges there. So, especially in the one-on-one drills, he looked unblockable. So, Lee Hunter, look out for that guy. Defensive tackle out of Texas Tech. And then the guy that a lot of people have been talking about as well. Let me get his name. The last guy here. Guy, we're going to get into Kirk Cousins up next, so be on the lookout for that because we're going to have a really good conversation about him and what that means for the salary cap moving forward. So definitely want to see the young man out of Florida, guys. I'm trying to get his name. He's been hurt a couple last seasons, but if he can stay healthy, I think this is the kind of guy that we definitely want to have on the Atlanta Falcons because of his size. I like his size. Um, uh, I can't get his name. I will get back with you guys on that. I can't get his name right now. Hold on, let's see. We got another comment here. It's Ricardo Lee Hunter. Yes. You need to draft. Yep. I don't think Lee Hunter is going to make it, though. I really don't. I don't think Lee Hunter is going to actually make it to to day 2. Hopefully, I'm wrong about that. But since it's not be that many quarterbacks go in the first round, um, a lot of guys is gonna come up the draft board. One of the things um, that was mentioned was the actual edge class is going to be really really good this year. Unfortunately, I don't think the Atlanta Falcons need an edge this year. I think when it comes to edge, they might look somewhere else. I think they need to look interior more than edge. So if that's the case, you know, where is he at? Caleb Banks, guys. I'm sorry, that's his name. Caleb Banks. Right now, he's the ninth rated defensive end, and in my opinion, the reason he's rated that low because of his injuries. But this guy is 6'6", 330. I mean, man, if the Atlanta Falcons can get a guy that size to play in the middle, um, to be able to stop the run, it would be really, really awesome for them. So Caleb Banks, this guy, like I said, 330 pounds, right? Shows explosive, get off when unleashed, and one gap assignments. One gap, not two gaps. What that mean? Attack style defense. Perfect. He's aligning that 3 technique. This is what the Atlanta Falcons need. Somebody this size, 6'6", 330. This is who I'm talking about, right? Caleb Banks. Somebody can get somebody like him out of Florida. Like I said, had some injuries, so wasn't able to shine like he really wanted. I think if he did, his stock would probably be higher right now. But looking at a guy like Caleb Banks, I really believe that if they get somebody like that, I haven't looked at all the defensive tackles yet, but I'm just looking at the Senior Bowl right now. But if you get somebody like Caleb Banks to come out to play that 3 technique, to play in that one gap, what we want to do, because we know Nate Ali want guys to get up the field. They don't want guys trying to play 2 gaps. They want to play that one gap, get up the field, and disrupt in the backfield, right? You stop the run on the way to the quarterback, pretty much. That's what's the philosophy this year, and we saw a lot of that this year. So if you put him beside a guy like Zach Harrison, who's also a big human being, man, and you bring in a guy like Ruger Roro, you know, Brandon Dorless, just imagine having a guy like that to play the clog in the middle, free up spots for free up space for your linebackers, being able to take up that much space. So this just one guy between him and Hunter. If they could get any one of those guys, I would definitely be impressed with the Atlanta Falcons on day 2. So those are some of the Senior Bowl highlights right now, or some players that impressed so far in the Senior Bowl. Like I said, the coolest thing about the Senior Bowl is they won. You see a lot of guys that stock rises. Then they too, you see new guys, right? What you want to see consistency throughout the week. And if you do, those guys are the ones that people remember. So when they come to the combine, because they got the Senior Bowl film, they have the combine, then they have the pro days and individual workouts that they do with the team visits. So man, that's how you get your stock starting to rise when nobody know your name, right? So one thing about guys that's in the Senior Bowl is the fact that they played 4 years, so most of these guys are mature. They almost develop, their body is anyway, and now you just got the home in their skills and let them do what they do best, right? Like I said, a lot of the guys are captains on their teams. They've been with the team for 4 seasons, so it's a little less rare this now in this day of age, sticking with one team from NILs. But those guys that do, played all 4 seasons at a team, you have to like that kind of character as well. So, of course, some of these guys that I talked about, they had transferred, but that's just the new NCAA. So I guess you can't really take anything away from that. John says, Ricardo, it makes sense. what you said about Clint Kubiak must turn down the Falcons job. He is headed to the Raiders. That's why they signed Kelvin knows the Kubiak system. Let's see what happens, man. Like honestly, man, I won't hope Clint does well though, because man, he's hang a lie. He called a hell of a game in the NFC Championship game. Hell of a game. He called a hell of a game. And he got Sam Darnold playing like the number 3 overall pick he was. So tip your hat off to him. But the question is, can he run the whole team? That's going to be the key. Right? We know he can run the offense, but being a head coach is so much different just being an offense coordinator, because you got to make sure, the main thing, he gonna have to make sure he put it together a great staff, because he's going to be running offense, but he got to make sure his special teams, his defense, and everything is up to par. Because if it's not, you know, yeah, the offense look okay, but then what about all your other pieces? So, but I think he has a good mentors, like you said, his pops. Um, Probably gonna make sure he's good. You know, maybe even bring your pops in to be liaison when hurt either. Guy who won the Super Bowl, so as a player and a coach. Um, Said Caleb Banks scouting issues, plays with high hips, losing ground, double teams. Lands get little sloppy work. Blocker to blocker takes time to disengage and tackle. You went off his, what you just read, Eddie, is the weakness, right? What are his strengths? Because that's the weaknesses, right? When they do a scouting report, they do strengths and weaknesses, and you obviously just read all the weaknesses, right? Because there's nothing positive what you just wrote. So, what's the strengths? There's some strengths out there too, because I just seen them. So, you can look at the strengths and weaknesses, but you just read off the weaknesses. There's some strengths too. Lacks opening clear. He just what is the strengths, man? Basically you say he can't play. If you just read off all his weaknesses, what, he can't play at all? These Super Bowl teams have given the Falcons the blueprint. Defense wins championships. I'm gonna be honest with you. Let's just put it be honest about the New England Patriots. New England Patriots got lucky, man. New England Patriots got lucky. They in the Super Bowl. They're not. They a season away, right? And I think they're gonna get blown out. I'm just be honest with you. I think the New England Patriots are season away. They could surprise me. Drake May could have an out of body experience, but Drake May have not played well in playoffs at all. He has not. And they had one of the easiest schedules. Go look at the teams they played. They ain't played nobody that was really talented, right? And the teams they did play, they lost against. So I I don't think that the New England Patriots is, I mean, they played CJ Stroud, who pretty much gave them the game. And then they played Denver, where they had a backup quarterback. And if it wasn't for the snow, I think they might have lost that game anyway. So um, I'm not taking anything away from the New England Patriots. I just think they're not as talented as people think. And from what we've seen from the Seattle Seahawks, man, I think they're gonna destroy. Really do. I think they're gonna destroy the New England Patriots. I don't think the New England Patriots are ready yet. Don't get me wrong, they talented, and they're gonna have what's name gonna have those guys ready to play, because that's who he is as a coach. But I don't think Drake May is ready yet, because he has not played well in the playoffs. He played better in the regular season than he played in the playoffs, but in the playoffs he did not play well at all. So just wanted to say that about Seattle. Seattle's winning this big. They got past it tough. Yeah, man, I agree with Eddie. I think Seattle's gonna blow those guys out. I'm sorry. I'm just sorry. I think New England played, like I said, and they got breaks, man. CJ Stroud gave them the game. They didn't have to play Bo Nix, and then it was snowing, like it was a blizzard out there And I mean, you had a quarterback hand through a pass in like 2 years playing against, and they still barely won the game. So I just don't see it. Could be wrong. They could surprise me, but they're playing in a familiar field. That Seattle plays in San Francisco, every year. So it's not like it's a neutral field. They play there. They know that field. I think they're gonna come out. They're gonna blow them out. I'm sorry, just being honest about it. Could be wrong though, and hopefully we have a good Super Bowl. And Drake May plays lights out, and we'll see what happens. Um, Breaking news: the Falcons are hiring Ian Cunningham as GM. Damn it! Are you serious? Yes, they are. Adam Schefter. Do 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 do. So let's go ahead and put that in our our little thing here so we can talk about it. So I think most of us assumed that this was going to be the case. I'm gonna keep my real thoughts behind it to myself. But Ian Cunningham is our new GM, guys. There you have it. Now I can say this. This was reported about 4 weeks ago. Really think about it. Um, it was reported that Matt Ryan was going to be president of football and Ian Cunningham was going to be the general manager. This was reported like 4 weeks ago, pretty much, right? So everybody pretty much had this laid out. The process they went through was good, I assume, but at the end of the day, this was reported probably like 4 weeks ago, before Matt Ryan was hired. When they was talking about, Arthur Blank bringing in the the two consultant teams, and then the rumor was out about Matt Ryan having a big role with the team. Then his relationship with Ryan Poles because he played with him in college. All this reporting had came out like 4 weeks ago. So the fact that the Atlanta Falcons have hired Ian Cunningham, I don't think a lot of people are surprised about this. It's been reported that he was going to be the guy. Um, his time with the Eagles, with the Ravens, and you know, just seeing it how the Chicago Bears built the trenches, right? So if you look at the Chicago Bears these last 2 seasons, what they did with the defense and offensive line, um, that lines up what the Atlanta Falcons are trying to do with this Atlanta Falcons team, the trenches. You hear Matt Ryan talk about the physicality. Um, they want to be a physical team. They want to be able to run the ball and stop the run. If you look at what Chicago was able to do this year, being able to run the ball, being able to be physical on defense, bringing in guys like Grady Jarrett, um, Montez Sweat, those guys they brought in on the defensive line. Um, this lines up with that philosophy. So I love what the Atlanta Falcons decision that they decided to make with this. You go to the Eagles, look at what Howard Roseman built with his defense and offensive lines. The Eagles, look at their offensive line, one of the biggest offensive lines in NFL, right? And then you go look at the defense with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. You see the trend here, what Ian Cunningham has seen from an offensive defensive line. It lines up what the Atlanta Falcons want to do with their fronts, right? So bring that philosophy to the Atlanta Falcons is going to be really, really good, because he have seen it and he have seen the success with it, right? The Chicago Bears is this close, for being an NFC Championship game. They just went up against a buzzsaw on Matthew Stafford, right? But they had a successful season this year because they was able to go out and fortify the offensive line, which failed Justin Fields. Let's be honest about it. And it failed Caleb Williams his first season as well. But to go in and make sure that they put pieces in place to help Caleb Williams be better this year by fortifying the offensive line, that's what you're talking about. NFL games are won in the trenches. Let's not fool ourselves, right? Ask Patrick Mahomes. The 2 Super Bowl he has lost against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Philadelphia Eagles, those defensive fronts dominated him. That's why he lost those 10 games, because his offensive line could not block for him, right? The trenches is where it is. And if you bring your philosophy that you had in your last 2 stops with the Eagles and the Chicago Bears, I can see a lot of success with what the Atlanta Falcons want to do, right? He has a lot of work to do, right? I'm glad they made the announcement today. Hopefully he didn't leave town, right? He can just, hopefully they told him to go back to the hotel and wait. They're going to give him a decision tonight. Hopefully he didn't leave town because he came in for an in-person visit. And if he did, that's great. So he can turn back around, come on in, and he need to get to work. That's what we need to see. So they got a lot of decisions to make, and we're going to talk about some of those decisions right now. Let's see here. Unless Sam D gets crazy. Let's see here. Ricono, did I not say something earlier? Yes, you did. And we're going to keep that, Eddie, we're going to keep that conversation to ourselves because I'm pretty sure that had a lot to do with it. Share your real thoughts, big dog. You want me to share my real thoughts? All right, let's get it out here. All right. We remember about a week and a half ago. It's been a week and a half, and I think Atlanta Falcons was so strategic by waiting almost a week and a half to have a press conference with Kevin Stefanski. Because if you guys recall, we had an uproar with the fan base about Kevin Stefanski being hired because they wanted to put the race card and all that stuff out there, right? I think the Atlanta Falcons made a strategic move by making sure they hired a black GM. Just being real with you. I'm not saying it was a DEI hire, but I think it was smart for the Atlanta Falcons to get a really good candidate, which they did, Ian Cunningham. But he was of color. Let's just be honest with you. I think this right here will go well over with the fan base because everybody was crying because they think they got a racist coach, how he treated the black quarterback and all that stuff. So I think this was really smart because not only if it's a good hire, but it does appease a portion of that fan base that felt like the Atlanta Falcons was, going, to going white or whatever, right? I'm just gonna keep it real with you guys. So hopefully this pleases everybody. You got a black GM, right? I think he's really good though. I mean, I think he was the guy from the jump. So it's not a surprise that they went this direction, but I do believe that by doing this really, ease the fan base. Like, oh, we got a black GM, right? So we got a black guy in there, running the show with Matt Ryan and Kevin Stefanski. So I think that's good. So I do believe that this was a really good hire. And look at his credentials. It's not like it was, they made a concession, right? So I like what they decided to do and bring him in. Eddie says, I will tell you offline what news I just got from earlier conversation. Ian Cunningham, he's the guy. That's right. Oh, don't worry, Stefanski always builds inside out. Yes, he does. He be talking about, like, you go, like I said, if you guys, earlier I talked about his unplugged that's on AtlantaFalcon.com. If you go look at that, you hear him talk. He really talked about his offensive philosophy. And man, you're gonna get kind of excited about how he broke it down. You can tell he know what he's talking about, man. He's on it. So really impressive, man. Really impressive. You can tell you offensive mind. He was taught by Gary Kubiak. You can tell. You can listen to his philosophies and how to build a team, how to build that running game. He talked about the wide zone and the gap, right? They're going to utilize both of those schemes, right? Imagine Bijan being in both of those schemes, right? Just imagine that. I can't wait, man. I'm getting excited about it. Um, he looks like a taller version of Terry. Yeah, they did their due diligence, man. They did their due diligence, right? So, all right, so guys, what I do want to talk about right now is the news that we got today from Josh Kendall, and I think we all was already knew this information, but you know, you listen to the national media, they assume that Kirk Cousins is going to be back with the Atlanta Falcons, but Josh Kendall reported today, he's an Atlanta Falcon beat writer, reported today that the Atlanta Falcons is intended to release Kirk Cousins, and I think we all was aware of that, right? Right. And the reason because of that, we talked about it by him restructuring his contract, right? That $68 million, $67.9 million that they owe him in 2027, he's never going to see that. He's never going to see that. So they would have to make a decision by March 13th. And that decision is going to be to cut him, but they're going to cut him post June 1. And by cutting him post June 1, that puts $22 million back on Atlanta Falcons books, right? They saved $22 million. Right now, they're according to over the cap, they're like 17 million. So you add that 22 million to that cap space. Now you're sitting at about 39 million bucks, right? This is huge for the Atlanta Falcons because of the decisions they got to make. So this is one of the first decisions Ian Cunningham, Matt Ryan, and Kevin Smith got to make is the decision on Kirk Cousins. 100%, I believe that he's going to be cut, right? And the reason I believe that because they're not going to pay him that 68.9. Now, it is a world where they could restructure his contract again and lower that cap number for 2027. They could do this, right? But I think they would have to make promises to Kirk Cousins that he's the starter moving forward, right? And he's going to be the franchise quarterback. And I don't think they can do that because you invested in the 8th overall pick in Michael Penix, where you need to find out if he's the guy. So the smartest thing for Atlanta Falcons to do is to go ahead and cut Kirk Cousins. He's 38 years old. Man, the dude is rich. He's the highest paid player in NFL history, right? Only got one playoff win. He can go, right? He's not getting any younger. I think he did a great job on CBS. Filling in for Matt. He needed to do that maybe, but in my honest opinion, I think Kirk Cousins is done here. Um, Now they will have to make a decision to bring in a veteran quarterback, um, because because Michael Penix, even if he is ready for Week 1, that's a lot of football practices going to be taking place before that time, right? Now, one good thing about it is Michael Penix ain't taking no licks in practice, right? We know that he have the red jersey on, so he's protected and all those good things. But far as preseason and things like that, they're gonna have to bring in at least 2 quarterbacks, right? Now they can bring back Easton Stick, they can bring him back if they want to. Um, that's a lot of veteran quarterbacks that's on the market, that's free agents, unrestricted free agents. Um, some to come to mind: Tyrod Taylor, Carson Wentz, Gardner Minshew. Just found out that Gardner Minshew is really good again. Um, Russell Wilson. Um, Some guys I would rather Joe Flacco. Some guys I would rather have that's not on the market. James Winston, Jacoby Brissett. I'd rather for those guys to come in and be the backup. But the Falcons have to make decisions. I mentioned they might go in the draft and bring another young guy in along with a veteran, right? Because I think you're going to have 3 quarterbacks on this roster, especially to go into training camp, OTAs, and things like that. Because you're going to need somebody to throw this ball around while Michael Penix is still doing his rehab. So. But yes, guys, Kirk Cousins is going to be gone. I don't think this is a surprise for nobody. I think we all knew this. but to hear it again, because like I said, if you go watch NFL Live on ESPN, you go watch NFL Network, people assuming that Kirk Cousins is going to come back and be the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons because of the relationship Kevin Stefanski had with him. And if his number was lower, that could be the case. Now, what they could do is cut him, and then if he don't find a suitable, place to go, if he want to come back, they can sign him back for a lower number. They could do that. Like I said, it didn't work out. But I think Kirk Cousins want to be a starter in this NFL. And right now, it's no guarantees he's going to be the starter here because Michael Penix only played 12 games in his career. The Atlanta Falcons got to find out if he can play football. Our number 8 overall pick is too big of an investment not to find out. It just is. And that's the reason why Minnesota is in the pickle they in, because they drafted J.J. McCarthy and they had to find out, could he play? Now, hindsight 2020, I know they wish they would have kept Sam Darnold, right? Because he won 14 games again. So I'm pretty sure they kicking themselves in the foot, right? But at the same time, you got to find out if Michael Penix can play. They're going to have to let Kirk Cousins go. This is one of the first decisions they probably going to make, as a collective. We won't hear about it until almost towards the new league year right there. I don't think they're going to cut him right away. Well, they could, right? Because it really don't matter. They can't go ahead and cut ties right now. But I think it'll be close around that time frame, when they make the notification. But I think it's going to be a done deal. But they got more things they need to worry about than that right now. They got to make sure they figure out their own free agents. We talked about Caden Ellis. We talked about Tyler Algier. We talked about Kyle Pitts. The word on the street that a lot of teams is looking to sign Kyle Pitts. So if Atlanta Falcons let him get on the market, he probably is going to be gone because there's a lot of teams got a lot of cap space. Atlanta Falcons is not going to be able to match those numbers. So if they want to keep Kyle Pitts, probably the smartest thing for them to do is franchise tag him. Once they do that, they can take their time and get signed to a long-term deal, right? That's where I think the deal was Kyle Pitts, but I don't know how much value will they think of him to do that, right? Then next, they need to figure out their contract with Drake London, who's playing on his 5th-year option this year. I think they need to go ahead and lock him up, right? If you do that, that will lower your cap number as well. If you go ahead and sign Drake London this year, you'll lower his cap number to a reasonable rate for this year, right? And backload the salary towards the later years, because it's a guy that you're gonna be on your team for a while if you lock him up, right? And then last but not least, Bijan Robinson is 2 years out, but I would probably go ahead and try to lock him up as well, right? So those are some of the decisions that this new trio needs to make. It's finalized now. The new era of Atlanta football is complete. We got our so-called big three to go in and see what they're going to be able to make of this Atlanta Falcons team. I'm getting excited about it. I really am, man. Like 8 years of not being in the playoffs, man. Let's see, can we do something this year, right? And I believe if they build this team the correct way with what the Atlanta Falcons have from a roster standpoint, we don't need a quarterback to play like Patrick Mahomes, right? We don't need a quarterback to play like that, or Josh Allen. We need a quarterback to play good, solid football, don't turn over, make the throws that you need to make. Man, and I think Michael Penix is more than capable of doing that. So, man, I'm getting excited about it. Let's see some more. The last comment here. Mr. Blank got Michael Penix Jr., best doctors in the world, to work on his leg. Yeah, I don't know if you guys seen Michael Penix Jr.'s email, where he stated that, and I didn't even realize this. his last ACL injury was like 5 years ago. It was on his other leg, right? On his right leg. So, I mean, that injury is 5 years ago. He had a partial torn ACL on his left knee, right? And I think the weirdest thing about Michael Penix rehab is that it's something that he's been through before. So it's not new to him. He knows what work he got to put in. I think that's going to help him with his recovery. I think it's going to help him with his rehab because he unfortunately he's experienced with being injured and coming back and play. And he mentioned he's going to be even better than he was before. He said from his previous injuries, that's what it always been. Hopefully he's right. Hopefully that's the case. A lot of people feeling like he's not going to be the same. But he was never a runner. He had athleticism, but he wants to be a pocket passer, which ain't nothing wrong with that. Just being able to move around, get out of the pocket, what we need to happen. And man, go ahead and put braces on both knees and protect them things, man. And hopefully nobody don't bend your knees back or something like that. But man, I'm excited to see what we'll be able to get this year from this team. All right, guys. Kirk Cousins. So, Kirk Cousins' tenure with Atlanta Falcons, and it was really good for the first 9 games. Let's just say that the first 9 games, man, he had the city rocking. It was Kirktober, right? He was doing the swag surf in the stadium and stuff, and that 500 yard, he broke Matt Ryan's record. 503 yards on Thursday Night Football, if you guys recall that. He was playing really good football. And then he took that hit in New Orleans, and he lied about being injured. And that's when he went 5 games where he threw 9 interceptions and 1 touchdown in those 5 games. And that's the end of his career pretty much in Atlanta. Right? He came back for these last, few games, and people was like, he's playing well, man. None of those games meant nothing. They didn't mean anything to us. We was already out of the playoffs by then. So none of those games mattered. It's not like he was playing lights out, man. Those games, Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts was doing the thing during those games. So that's what it was all about. So Michael Penix Jr. is set up in a good way. He got Matt Ryan there, a top 10 QB ever, to give him advice. Yeah, let's. So I'm glad you said that. So let's have this. I'm finna have this my last talk before I get up out of here. Talk about Matty Ice, right? And the whole Eli Manning not getting, put in Hall of Fame 2 years in a row. And I'm gonna just say this: Eli Manning don't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. I just don't think he does, man. Honestly, it's time for me to go. My light goes out, right? It's time for me to go. My light goes out. But Eli Manning does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. He doesn't, man. He got 117 record. He got numerous seasons where he led the league in interceptions, and they want to put him in the Hall of Fame because he won 2 Super Bowls. That's it. That's the only name. That's his only name to fame. It's the 2 Super Bowls he won. Every other record he has is crap. It really is. I'm just being honest with you. And so I want to say this: he probably get in next year because everybody's upset and complaining. His brother campaigning and everything. He probably gets in next year on his 3rd try, right? But if he gets in the Hall of Fame, Matt Ryan better get in the Hall of Fame. That's all I'm saying. Matt Ryan is a way better quarterback than Eli Manning. No, he does not have a Super Bowl, but he has a league MVP. He's 7th all time in quarterback comebacks in history. 7 all time. He's top 10 in touchdowns all time. Man, Matty Ice was a really good quarterback. And for anybody that wants to put Eli Manning in, they need to put Phillip Rivers in, They need to make sure Big Ben get in. Big Ben got a Super Bowl, but what I'm saying, they need to make sure all these other quarterbacks that way above Eli get in because he won 2 Super Bowls. His team went on 2 great runs, but go look at the other seasons past those 2 seasons. That's what I want you guys to do. Go look at the seasons past those seasons, and you'll see where I think the whole idea to put Eli Manning in the NFL Hall of Fame is just ridiculous to me, right? And my light keep going out, so I'm about to get up out of here, guys. Curry wants to be like Matty Ice. Yeah, he's gonna be on CBS, man. You need to go ahead and do that thing. We got our general manager. That's right. We are final. We're finally cooking with grease, man. Now we can get the ball rolling, and be interesting when they go ahead and hold a press conference for our general manager, because he's going to be next. We hear that? Well, Tom Brady better not go either. Cheater. Man, you can say what you want to say. Tom Brady got seven Super Bowls. 7. Count them. He got 7 Super Bowls. And he been to the Super Bowls 10 times. 10 times, right? Just like Bill was been there 9 times. Bill been there 11 times, and he's not even in the Super Bowl. It was just ridiculous. So, why do what? 3 of them Deflategate. No, 3 of them was Spygate. Deflategate was Tom Brady that one season. Deflategate was Tom Brady that one season. Spygate was the whole three Super Bowls that they claimed that he got. But then, if you guys recall, after Spygate, they went undefeated a whole season. Now they went to the Super Bowl, and yes, Eli was the one that beat them, but they almost broke the Miami Dolphin record for Super Bowls, man. Like I said, guys, my lights have died on me, so I'm about to get up out of here because I don't like the lighting. But there you have it, guys. We got our new GM. Ian Cunningham is the man that's going to help the Atlanta Falcons do what they need to do. Eddie says, evidence said 3 or 4 was spyware. When was it over? Ricky Gaines said, I'm happy with the hire, but what was your thoughts on where I thought he may have been edged him out based on his time in New England? Hey, between me and you, he maybe did edge him out. But we in Wakanda, how they call it, Wakanda, Atlanta. They had to make the right hire, man. And like I said, Ian Cunningham is a good hire. So I'm not even going to get on that whole tangent about he made hired a black GM. That would be just doing a disservice to Ian Cunningham because he's a great candidate. I thought he was going to be the candidate all the time. I think everybody thought he was going to be the candidate. James Lipford was a great candidate as well, obviously, because that's why he made it to the final 2. But like I said, if you haven't heard me earlier talk about the philosophy of the trenches, what they're going to be able to build, looking at his track record with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the Chicago Bears, I think they all line up with what the Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan, and Kevin Stefanski want, how they want to build this team inside out. And if they decide to make sure they do it that way, I think this team is really going to be really play really well this year. I really do. If they build it inside out like they should. Yes, we need receivers, we need cornerbacks, we need all that stuff, but you build the trenches up, we can find those guys. And just like Eddie said, man, there's so many receivers in the draft that we don't need to worry about receivers and things like that because we can find those guys. Well, we need to make sure that it's hard to find those guys in the trenches that really know how to play football, right? bringing in Bill Callahan is going to be huge for us. So I just I like the hire, and I can't wait to see what happens with it. Eddie said they need diversity, yes, and like I said, I at the end of the day, it was a great hire. If you look at it on all sides, from a PR standpoint, from a prospect standpoint, I think it was a great hire all the way around. So I like the hire a lot. Um, Last thing I want to say is that um, Kevin Stefanski mentioned that they are going to bring in a quarterback coach. So if you, like I said, if you go watch that show Unplugged, um, he was talking to Dave Archer. You hear him talk about they are bringing in a quarterback coach. So that is great. So they're going to actually have a quarterback coach, because I was kind of worried about that they wasn't going to have a quarterback coach, but that's good. And they still got some other positions they got well. So the staff is not complete yet. So be on the lookout for more staff personnel as well. That's going to be huge for the Atlanta Falcons to see who they decide to bring in from a staff standpoint. But there you have it, guys. Ian Cunningham is the Atlanta Falcons' new GM. I stayed on long enough to get it, because guess what? I would have had to come back on and talk about it anyway. So I'm glad I stayed on long enough to actually talk about Ian Cunningham. And like I said, guys, the lights are getting dark in here. And I'm about to get up out of here. So there you have it, guys. This is your boy Ricondo. Come back at you with another video. Peace.